It simply requests useful information to be employed if we must respond to a similar future crisis. And it will support transparency and accountability in state government. Now, the legislature did take actions that were appropriate during the pandemic. However, there's been no comprehensive public after-action review conducted to study the collective actions of state government in response to the pandemic crisis. Now, it seems prudent and actually a prerequisite to future preparedness that we learn from the past to be prepared to promptly, intelligently, and constitutionally act to mitigate the dangers that may be posed by a future pandemic or a similar emergency situation. The pandemic and our collective response to the dangers it posed had a major human, financial, and psychological impact on our state. Now, I know some people would like to simply forget the entire episode and move on. Believe me, I understand that train of thought. But in my opinion, that would be the worst thing we could do. Did we make mistakes during the pandemic? Could some things have been better managed? Should we have not taken some of the steps we employed? If mistakes were made, will we repeat those mistakes during the next major crisis? And will the things we did well be remembered and incorporated into our future planning? My point is, we can learn from the past and be better prepared for the future. The implementation of this resolution will not have a negative impact on the general fund. The investigation can be conducted using funds already appropriated to the legislature, and the total expenditure of funds should not exceed $10,000. So I ask for your affirmative vote on Senate Concurrent Resolution 102. Mr. President, debate is open.
Okay, welcome everybody. Idaho Signal's on the air. That was Senator Dan Foreman just moments ago in the Senate with Senate Concurrent Resolution 102. This would basically establish some sort of task force or a committee to look into how Idaho responded to the pandemic. This is something that the senator has been trying to get through for a number of years now. And the debate happened this morning on the Senate floor. The only other person to stand up and talk about this issue on the floor was Senator Brian Lenny, and we have that clip here for you as well.
Hearing none.
Mr. President,
Senator Lenny.
to debate the
You have the floor, Senator.
resolution. I've had a lot of conversations, I think we all have, on COVID-19 and the COVID crisis and things like that. And something I have heard more than once is I've been told, do we really need to relitigate COVID? To which my response has always been, I don't think we litigated it in the first place. So when we look at the mandates, the lockdowns, government overreach at all levels, what happened in our schools, what happened in our hospitals, businesses closing down, what happened to the military. We could just go on and on and on and on. And this was only a little over 2 years ago. So I fully support this resolution, and I think it would be good to litigate this stuff in the first place and really dig in officially. So I'll be supporting this, and I would urge everybody else's support as well. Thank you.
And just like that, we are cooking, folks. We are cooking with tallow. Very good. So the Senate Concurrent Resolution 102, it did pass the Senate. I believe it was almost along party line votes. I think it was. I know we'll have the tally here in a second, but it did pass the Senate, so it's headed over to the House, where I imagine it will pass there as well. So we'll keep tabs on that. Now, again, folks, this is, I think Senator Lenny put it very succinctly. We never litigated it to begin with, and when you see what's happening at the federal level, when Biden on his way out the door starts pardoning Fauci and all these other folks for crimes that they never committed, apparently, that's not to say that there still weren't mistakes made, and that we need to go back and look at it and then put it in writing. we will and will not do. One of those things is the mask mandate. There's a bill that we highlighted this week, yesterday, in fact, that is going to prohibit mask mandates by government agencies for viral, to protect you against viruses and that sort of thing, because that stuff doesn't work, right? So we've seen the science. The science is clear on that. So anyway, we applaud Senator Foreman for bringing that bill forward, and we will continue to follow it. And this is, elections have consequences. They say this all the time. Elections have consequences, and there is a swath of freshmen and second-term folks who were elected, a lot having to do with the reaction to COVID and the realization from the voters that our daily lives were greatly affected by the decisions made at the local and state level during the pandemic. We can scream all we want and yell all we want about what we want to see happen at the federal level, but on a day-to-day basis, what's happening here in the state because of our local leaders and our state leaders greatly affects what's going on. And that's why this show exists, obviously, because we're paying attention to that area. So a lot of that stuff was going around in committee today, and things are ramping up. So we've got a lot of clips to get through, a lot of highlights. Well, Brian Allman will be on a little bit later to talk through this. And the COVID tally on that resolution was 25 in favor, 9 against, with 1 absent. So that was a concurrent resolution. We'll have the exact tally on that later in terms of who went where. We'll have that.